This is me and my overalls. I've just brought in some mixed kapa, which Sirroco loves chewing. He loves the cones on the, ripping those to pieces. Yeah. See? So on Codfish Island and Anchor Island as well, prior to breeding seasons, we set up things like this feed station I'm pointing to here, which we mainly feed to supplementary feed females to help get them into good breeding condition, so they produce good healthy eggs and chicks. We also have this one we call a dumb hopper, because it's quite easy to access. We also have smart hoppers that we can program specific birds into, and it will only unlock when that bird gets near. And that's because all the birds have transmitters, so it's like a little backpack that we attach to them, and it gives off a radio frequency that we can then use an aerial to go out into the bush and find them. But we can also use it for the smart hoppers, which we don't have one here, but it's just a wee box that's attached to the stand here that only lets the certain birds that we want fed to have access. Now, these were designed by some of the guys on our team, and only kakapo can access them, particularly when we put macadamia nuts in. Sirroco will show you how he likes to get in there. So he just pops the lid up with his head. He's looking for it. You're going to bring it out? No. He's just going to eat it himself. So they have amazing camouflage. In the wild, you'd be hard pressed to see them if they were roosting in a tree. They also roost underground in dead dirt hollows and dead trees. Roosting is just where they sleep during the day. And we feed them a special, it's a commercial parrot pellet, and it just contains all the protein, minerals and vitamins and all that good stuff that kakapo, particularly females, need to get into good breeding position. It's just a small, dry, greenish looking pellet, which they like a lot.
He's watching it. He's watching it.
What? So as I said earlier, we've just had a small breeding season. Do you want to come up, Sirroco? I've got you. Kakapo are one of the heaviest, if not the heaviest parrot in the world. You can eat it on my head or my hand. Sirroco is 2.47 kilos at the moment, which is a good weight. And unlike other parrot species, Sirroco kakapo don't use their hands and claws to hold their food while they're eating it. So when he eats his grapes, which are not part of his natural diet, these are just treats, and he's going to try and eat it on my head, but unfortunately I have a funny shaped head and he can't get a flat surface too much. So when he's finished, he'll just spit out all the skin. He doesn't really like the skin. So, yeah. So out of 20 eggs that we had laid this year, we had 11 chicks hatch. So that's a pretty good number. Unfortunately, it's really hard to get kakapo to breed regularly. They tend to only breed every 2 to 4 years. Out of the 11 chicks we had hatched this year, 4 were wild, so they stayed with the mums out in the wild. And the other 7 were hand-reared. What are you doing? Pushing me away. So all those chicks are now released. All the hand-reared chicks have released and back on the island. Any questions?
Do you feed them with a puppet to reduce imprinting?
So I'll just Oh, that didn't work at all. I got distracted with the piston. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you repeat that?
I just wondered if you fed them like with a hand puppet to reduce imprinting.
Do we use hand puppets for breeding? No. Are you sort of meaning about like they do with the takahe?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't need to use puppets, sorry, fortunately. Sirroco became imprinted because he was the first male kakapo to be hand-reared. So he had no other kakapo chicks to hang out with and sort of associate and recognise that he was a kakapo, not a human. So we've since learned that that's not a really good way to raise them. We now try and keep minimal handling of the chicks when they're young. And we just basically go on and feed them and stuff like that. You giving me a kiss? Yeah. So, we'll just see if he does it. Sirroco still has a begging response, which is from his hand-rearing days, hand-reared days, which if I get him off my shoulder, he might do. One down here. So feel free to get really close to the perspex so he can see you really well. One down. They have quite whisker-like hairs around their nostrils and face and they have really large nostrils. They have really large ears as well, which you can't see, but they're just big holes on the side of their head. You don't want to get off, so
Has he ever done any booming?
Is that someone asking a question?
Yeah. Has he ever done any booming?
What was that?
Does he boom? Has he ever boomed?
He does boom. It's a really good question. Which is another reason he was booted off Consershot. Because he's imprinted. If I just go back a little bit, so kakapo have a mating system. I'm not sure if I talked about that earlier. The lek mating system, where they the males do a display or performance. The kakapos is booming. And when Sirroco became sexually mature, he decided that he was going to build his track and bowl system between the hut and the toilet. So we have a long drop on the island, which is about 20 or 30 metres away from the hut. And Sirroco thought that was perfect to build his track and bowl. But unfortunately, it was rangers that were going to the toilet in the middle of the night that he was trying to have a bit of sexy fun with. So we had to build a race on the path up to the toilet to stop him attacking us basically in the night. So yes, he has boomed, but unfortunately doesn't attract the right species. So he's just chatting on some stuff. He loves the stuff.
The eggs that didn't hatch, do you know why they didn't hatch? Were they infertile or?
Yeah, they were infertile, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Do you guys save those eggs?
Sorry?
Do you save those eggs?
We do. We sometimes, depending on at what stage they've actually died, and the development of those eggs, we sometimes will open them up and